right, right now it's time for the big story. And the JUTC seems to have plans to abandon some 23 routes. And the PNP says that would seem to be a breach of their license. As a matter of fact, opposition spokesman on transport, Mikael Phillips, has criticized the Jamaica Urban Transit Company's JUTC's decision to abandon these 23 routes in the KMTR, the Kingston Metropolitan Transport Region. Mikael Phillips argues that this move breaches the company's exclusive license and will harm over 500,000 transit-dependent persons. We are joined this morning by Mikael Phillips as our guest on The Big Story. Good morning, Mr. Phillips. How are you doing today?
Morning to you, Richard B. Morning to your listeners. I'm giving thanks.
All right, so are we. Thank you so much for being here with us in this segment, which is a very, very topical issue that we are looking at. First of all, Mikael, what impact do you really believe the abandonment of these routes will have on transit-dependent persons, including children, students, and even pensioners?
Well, remember now, the JUTC has an exclusive license for the Kingston Metropolitan Transport Area, which includes also Spanish Town to Kingston and the Portmore area into the capital city. They have an exclusivity on the routes. Taking the JUTC buses off of these routes and putting route taxes is going back where we are coming from. We, meaning the People's National Party, have said on numerous occasions there is place for all players within the system, and what the JUTC, the government, is attempting to do, including its own profitable routes, which is like Spanish Town into halfway tree to Papine, 3 miles and into Portmore, and giving up some of those routes. We keep asking them, what is the national plan? And, ever since this administration has been in power, we have seen the downward spiral of the JUTC, where, this financial year it is estimated to make a loss of some $11 billion, even when including the 150 new buses. We're seeing where the fare box is being reduced. You see more losses coming onto the books. We're seeing salaries increasing by close to $2 billion. So the exclusive license that they have is to provide, I think, about 30,000 seats on a daily basis, and they're actually doing less than 10,000 seats on a daily basis now. So is it that they're going to be changing the license to the JUTC? But while at the same time, Richie, which we find a backward step, that while you're converting these taxi operators from hackney carriage into route taxi, what they have done is to open back the offering of license for hackney carriage operators. So you're even going to be putting more competition on those same routes as these hackney carriage operators, which we think is a backward step in asking them to give up the hackney carriage license and then putting more competition on these operators. But having to do with the exclusive license, the question is it that they're going to be changing the licensing regime of the JUTC itself? The question is, when the JUTC has brought in enough buses to be able to roll out the 450 buses on a daily basis, are they going to go back on these routes? And why is it that the government, and we're not against converting some of these routes into franchise holders of the JUTC? And the question also is, why is it that the JUTC is moving away from licensing franchise holders? Because let us use, for an example, the Waterhouse to Parade to downtown Kingston.
Yes,
that's a JUTC route, which they have offered franchise license for those routes. Those are the 15-seaters, which you see painted in yellow, are operating on JUTC routes. So it is not new in some instance, but the approach in making it into route taxes routes, because we have not had route taxes in the KMTR since the advent of the JUTC.
So, Mikael, it seems like you're also very concerned in terms of the legality of this move.
Yes, because it's really not for the Transport Authority to offer license on the JUTC routes. It is for the JUTC to offer franchise permits on their own routes. So there's a change in how it is now. They are now approaching it, but there are greater questions also, Richie, because I have been asking the minister, what is the overall national plan? You know, because let us use the JUTC today. In 2016, the JUTC was rolling out 450 buses. They're rolling out less than 250 buses on a daily basis. Rollout, not projected rollout. Rollout less than 250 buses. In 2016, the fare box was over $3.5 billion, going to $4 billion. Today, the fare box is estimated to be under $1.5 billion for this financial year. 2016, the JUTC was seeing a loss, and we don't expect the JUTC to make a profit, but we expect to ask the taxpayers to give less to the JUTC because it would have been earning more. So the JUTC loss in 2016 was what, about $3.5 billion. Today it is estimated that it will make a loss of $11 billion. You're having over 1,300 workers in the JUTC now, and it is expected that the payroll will increase by nearly $2 billion this year. So the question is, what is happening at the JUTC when you're having less buses, spending more money, and expecting the taxpayers to foot that bill? Is an unfair ask of the taxpayers. And that's why we've been asking the minister, what is the overall plan for public transport? So you're running out less than half of the buses that's required in the KMTR. You have now opened up a rural bus system using the same buses from the JUTC, right? And it is being done in an ad hoc way. Come to the country, come to us. You don't have to tell the opposition, but tell the country what is the overall plan for the JUTC. Because even after purchasing 175 new buses, you're still rolling out less than 250 buses on a daily basis. So you had to retire those old buses, hence why you're still rolling out less than. Your fuel bill is going to be increased by close to $2 billion. But 60% of your current fleet are CNG buses and electric buses. Why is it that we are spending more with a smaller JUTC?
Yes. I want to go back to get a little bit more detail from you in terms of these 23 routes that are likely to be abandoned. From your perspective, from the PNP's perspective, what alternative transportation solutions do you think could fill the gap left by the JUTC on these routes? Should the government go ahead?
Well, what the JUTC did when it offered a franchise to the routes that they offered back then, where that there was a requirement that you had to have 15-seater buses. So let us use the Spanish Town route that is included in this 23, which is the most profitable route for the JUTC. The amount of persons that you're going to be moving coming in from Spanish Town, it's going to require more than just route taxes. That is to move that volume of persons. So what made it more efficient for the JUTC were articulated buses. I think the JUTC is down to probably one or two. I understand that they're refurbishing another two. And that in itself from Portmore and Spanish Town was just inadequate. So if the JUTC itself was not able to satisfy those routes, then converting hackney carriage operators and some other operators into route taxes is still going to leave the traveling public at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen anything suggesting what impact this will have on say the vulnerable groups who get concessionary fares presently on those routes?
Well, we're not. The minister has not yet explained that and how it is that the fare for these passengers will be subsidized by the JUTC itself. I mean, they have been unable to do it in the KMTR with other operators. Converting them into route taxes, I'm unsure. There has not been any suggestion. So again, the traveling public would be left at a disadvantage with higher fares also.
Mm-hmm. As we speak, I'm getting a message from a hackney carriage driver who's saying they are forcing hackney carriage drivers to take routes, and we're not into that. Is that a surprising reaction?
It is not, because also, why, Richard, this offer to the hackney carriage operators was offered in late January. And they have not been able to issue any license because there's also inadequate parking for these persons who you're basically asking to convert their license. And as I said, it is definitely going to be a disadvantage to those, because remember, hackney carriage operator is not confined to a route. You're asking them now to convert your license to route taxes and be confined to a route. And at the same time, you are opening up the regime of offering more hackney carriage license in the same area. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be driving competition to those who you are now asking to confine themselves to a route. Mm-hmm. There can be a better fix to it. And and I would say that the minister is really approaching this in an ad hoc way, a knee-jerk reaction to what is happening out there and the failure of this administration on maintaining the JUTC in the purpose that it was actually put there for.
All right. Are you seeking to have meetings, conversations with the minister, with the JUTC at this time?
Well, I'm hoping that the minister will come to Parliament and have and at least issue a proper statement and give the country a better idea of what the national plan is. The minister has hidden behind this sector group that he has appointed. He allows the sector group to make the decisions on his behalf without him really having a great input. Because at one stage the Transport Authority was proposing to open up hackney carriage license for rural Jamaica. So, I understand that has now been shelved, but come to the country, what is the plan? Because the JUTC cannot continue as it is now. And there's no direction nationally. He's rolling out a school bus system. And things, we're not against a rural transport bus system and a rural school bus system. But give us the architecture, give us a picture of how the puzzle is coming together and how it is that you're going to support the sector in a way that we no longer treat operators as hustlers, but as investors in an overall national transport plan.
All right. Mikael Phillips, opposition spokesman on transport for the People's National Party. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts this morning, Mikael. Have a good day.
Have a good day to you.